going on, people? This is the Cornerstone Podcast. This is the first installment of the new series that I'm doing called What Do You Do? So subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. You can follow us on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome a very special guest to the platform. Please welcome Mr. Fred Brown. How you doing?
Hey, man, good. How are you this evening, mister?
Everything's good. So my first question for you is, Fred, what do you do? What do you do?
It's a loaded question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make this long, but then make it short at the same time. When I kind of first started in the business early on, I was always told that you need to have what is called an elevator speak, okay? And that's when you tell people what you do in a brief amount of time, okay? So you don't know. So theoretically, the amount of time you get on an elevator, tell somebody to get off, they know. In brief, what I do, mister, is I help families, small businesses with their risk management and their investment strategies. Basically, their planning. We help clients with the what ifs of life. What if my child wants to go to college? What if God takes me home and I can't be with my family? We deal with the what ifs. So we have clients look down the road, see what the pitfalls are, and then help them make preparation to deal with them when and if they come.
Now, is that something different than a financial advisor or a financial planner?
Those are the job descriptions of a financial advisor and a financial planner.
You're a financial risk assessor?
Right. Basically, what financial planning is, mister, basically, it is basic core. If you think about it, we all get up every day and we're striving for really the same things. On one side, we're striving for what is called asset building, wealth building, okay? How much money can I make? What can I use it to buy cars, savings, homes, investments? That's asset building. A flip side of that, which is what most of us ignore to some extent, is called risk management. What are the risks that can happen to me having the ability to do those things? Okay. See, most of us don't think about it. We go buy a brand new car and they won't let us leave the lot unless we do what? Prove we got insurance. There's a risk associated with that asset. Now, we get it when it comes to buying a car. We get it even when it comes to buying a house, okay? What we don't get is when it comes to protecting us. So the way I see it, and the way I see it even more now, if I help a client set up a 401k plan or roll over a 401k plan to an IRA, if I don't help them deal with the risk associated with it as well, I'll let them down.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, just to kind of piggyback from our previous conversation when you asked me about my kids and their ages. So, my kids are 5 and 2. And that was intentional as far as me just having 2 kids because I'm not sure what the actual number is as far as like the kids to resource ratio, as far as what the actual number is. But I always thought that with the line of work that I do, I mean, I can only afford just 2 kids. And also the retirement age for my employer, we retire at age 56. So in order to retire, they have to be out of high school so I can live comfortably. So I had to up to age 38 in order to have my last kid. So that way I could kind of be on that track. And that's exactly what I did. And once my second child turned like 2 months, that's when I got to the vasectomy just to kind of guarantee that I shouldn't have any more kids from this point on. So, yeah.
See, I'm going to tell you now, you were more intentional in your planning than I was. My wife and I are both in our 60s. Don't tell her I told you that, okay?
She'll see this video sometime soon.
No, please don't tell her I tell you that, because her thing is she's to the point where she's actually reducing age each year instead of gaining more, okay? But our son is 23. So we had him later on in life. So there are different schools of thought when it comes to when you have kids. There are even studies on whether or not you have them close or you space them apart. There have been some renowned psychologists who believe you should space your kids apart. And the logic is that you give each child the opportunity to be the only center of influence within that household before you introduce another child into that household. What school anyone falls into, I that's the debate or argument I don't get into. The most important thing there is that you planned.
Right.
You planned. You were intentional about it. This is a term I use with the young people that work with me a lot now, is intentional. You have to be intentional about what you do. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm successful. It doesn't happen. It's a plan, it's a thought out process. And then once you think it out, there's an execution that has to go with it. The same thing goes with financial planning and all the aspects of it.
In regards to spacing out kids, what is the magic number as far as what you have found out from that study or that scenario?
I don't think it is a magic number. Every household is different. It's what you value. It's what you value. If you value your economic resources and you want to limit those to a certain number, then that's the number that you're gonna hold it to. I'm gonna tell you what my wife and I really discovered when Austin was younger, our son, was when we did put him in daycare, because it was important for us that when he was born, that my wife wouldn't have to work. We wanted him to be of an age where he could speak before he found daycare. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So he was 4. But when we did, I mean, what it costs for a week of daycare, all you can do is imagine, how does somebody with 3, 4, 5 kids do that at the same time? What I can tell you is that from a financial planning standpoint, there are numbers, percentages that apply to almost any income level in any household. One is that if you compare relative income to how people spend those incomes, most people are going to spend between 20 and 30% of their incomes on a household, the mortgage, what they pay for it. Okay, whether you make $20,000 a year or $200,000 a year, studies have shown that people spend a proportionate amount of that income, similar amounts of income, 10 to 15% utilities. You know what I'm saying? 12 to 15% groceries. And so if you want to extrapolate out to how much it takes to feed a kid, that's more math than we're doing. Every person's situation is really, really different. I got clients who have multiple kids. They want the kind of household where their kids could grow up together. I have clients who have one kid, like my wife and I do. Just each person's situation is really different. I just think that whatever it is, each child deserves to be raised in an environment that is not only nurturing, but also financially able to provide for that child in a certain way.
Now today, right, it seems like you need 2 incomes to kind of survive or even get by in this economy. Now, back in the old days, I mean, people were having 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 kids, and someone was always at home rearing the kids. So what would you say as far as having 2 incomes, or is it possible to have 1 income? And what is that magic number to have 1 income? Let's just say like a family of 4, mother, father, 2 kids. What is the magic income number as far as to comfortably, raise 2 kids with just 1 income?
There are too many variables, mister. There are too many variables to get to try to pinpoint that. You can do it. I don't spend my time in that kind of place. You know what I'm saying? See, because it can be as different as what it takes to raise 2 kids in Los Angeles, California, as it is to raise 2 kids in Kenosha, Iowa. Okay?
Yeah.
Or to raise 2 kids in Humboldt, Tennessee. Okay? I live in the Memphis, Tennessee area. And over the last 7 weekends, I have had the pleasure, I guess, of visiting some small town within a 100-mile radius of here. Been working with a couple of nonprofit organizations who work in the area of helping people to restore their rights after incarceration, getting voter rights back, restoring, reinstating licenses, helping people to get charges expunged and misdemeanors expunged and things like that. They asked me to kind of sign on to make sure that to help these people be fully restored, that you need other benefits, health insurance, life insurance, which I'm totally on board with. And I'm gonna tell you, and you go to these small towns, they're within 100 miles away, mister, and the lifestyle and the cost is completely different from what I'm experiencing right now where I live. So that's a question that has everything to do with where you are and with the cost of living where you are and what you're willing to, what your lifestyle is, okay? Do I have to live in a 3,000 square foot home? Everybody don't, I mean, is it necessary for me to drive the latest model car? Everybody doesn't. Again, what I'm going to agree with you on and tell you what I think our focus should be, not only as individuals, but also as a group of people, is being intentional, planning, understanding there's a need, making preparation for the things that we want, and then being intentional, having a game plan in terms of how we go about doing it. That's where we've fallen off, mister. There's not enough of you out there in our communities who make the kind of decisions financially and lifestyle-wise and follow through on it. We continue to fall short when we compare our communities to other communities in terms of our economic empowerment. There's a disparity. It's always existed and it hadn't gone away. Now, there are some positive signs where we are making headway. We're saving at a rate that's comparable to the other community, white community, but still we don't have as much savings.
All right.
We're earning incomes, and now we're still not there, but the rate of growth in our income is higher, but we still earn far less, okay? Our assets are still not representative of the incomes we have. That's some other reason that we can talk about later also.
Now, is that our fault as far as the individual, as far as them not investing in our money and they're spending it irresponsibly? They want to get the new car, they want to get the big house that they really can't afford. So is it really the personal responsibility, or is it, do you think that it's like a systemic preying on like a certain people?
Man, you came loaded today. Tell you the truth, you're at the risk of like a politician, a little bit of both.
Okay.
See, this is how frank can I afford to be here with you? Okay.
Hey, just go and go. Just go.
Mister, I'm a 63-year-old African American male who grew up in the deep South, Mississippi. Okay. Most people's perception, if you live up north where you are, that if you grew up in the South, it was racist and and oppressive and everything else. And I could say maybe yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, the first time I experienced the first outward experience of racism, I was in Chicago.
You know what?
At a nightclub on Rush Street. Really?
Rush Street?
Yeah. The first time I felt like somebody had been directly affront to me from a racist standpoint. I was in Chicago. Okay. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is that I've lived just long enough now to have not only had the benefit of education and background and work experience, but also life experience. Okay. And I'm at a point now where I'm beginning to believe more that it is about personal responsibility as much, if not more, than a system that has been established to suppress us. Okay.
Right.
Here's the point. You have to be blind, crippled, and crazy to not understand what other people want to do to us, have done to us, and will continue to do to us. Okay? But if we think back, there have always been that sector of people with this indomitable spirit who were not going to be denied. They accepted personal responsibility for their actions and their outcomes. Whatever someone else has tried to do, we know the system is rigged. But the system does not mean we cannot succeed. You're an example of that. You talked about stopping having kids at 38 and retiring at what, 50? Did you say 55, 57?
56 is the age.
You know what I'm saying? So you're an example of that. But there are a lot of examples of you and people like you here. The problem is that we have not decided that it needs to be an empowered movement for us. We've not decided as individuals and as a community that we're not going to let whatever some other community has decided they want us to be us. Heard a preacher say one time, man, says that people are going to try to create their own plays or scenario, and they want to include you as a character in it. But you don't have to be a character in it because you have the power to decide whether or not you want to. I think we're at a point now where there are enough resources within our community, both individually and within our community, for us to be empowered enough to make a difference. But it starts with personal responsibility. If I continue to blame another community or someone else for what I am not, then I don't deserve to be anything else other than what I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Example, and this again, I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone. Okay, a year ago, 2020, we came together as a community and we protested the killing of George Floyd. We was vigorous in our protest, and we did it. We did it for about 3 or 4 months. And within 3 or 4 months after that, at least 3 other African American males unarmed men were killed by whites. And then since that, 16 states have gone on to pass voting laws that would restrict our ability to vote. The point that I'm trying to submit to you, mister, is that the protests and all this fervor, and as needed as it was, did not yield the results that we want.
Mm-hmm.
Again, remember, I'm 63 years old. I've seen protests since I was a kid, and we get the same results. We protest for a while as if we need to raise the ire of the other community and make them feel guilty and bad about what they've done to us. I submit to you, the other community don't give a you know what now.
Now, yeah, protesting, I think that was a good tactic back in the 50s and the 60s, but is that a tactic that could be effective today? Because my thing is, I think the most effective way to inflict change is money. You got to rent out these politicians in order for them to do whatever bidding that you want them to do. As far as going out and protesting, to me, it's just an outdated concept.
You know, man, I wrote something 2020. It was called "Letter to My People," man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was moved. I'll read it to you another time. I was moved because it was kind of after the George Floyd killing. I was feeling a sense of outrage like everybody else. But I think protest has its place. But if it's not followed by a sustained term, sustained, whatever we do at this point, we got to adopt a term called sustainable. It has to be sustained and sustainable. What we did was not sustained. It's not sustainable. Right. Less than a year later, a young white boy, 17 years old, gets an AR-15, goes to another state, guns down 2 or 3 people, and then gets off scot-free. Not a hung jury, but acquitted. Okay. You got 3 white men down in Georgia right now. We're talking 2021, who's accused of jumping a truck, riding down a road, chasing the brother down, only because he was in the wrong neighborhood. You know, that hadn't worked. We got to understand what they understand. And what they understand is we got to become empowered people financially. Mm-hmm. The bumping on the door and ramming on the door and hoping somebody hears us and empathizes with us enough to allow us to have something. I think that day is over, bro.
Yeah.
You know, Brother James Brown said, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. What'd he say? Open up the door. Mm-hmm. I get it myself. I think we got to now adopt the attitude that we got to get it ourselves, man.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, we need to practice group economics a lot better. We need to, have better nuclear families, because if our kids are growing up in these unstable, households, then they're going to go out into the communities and be more unstable as well. And, the system has a place for them, especially these Black boys. They definitely got a place for them.
Oh, absolutely. If we can't see that and the incarceration rate, then again, you got to be blind, crippled, or crazy to not see it. See, some things are just obvious. You don't need a study to point it out to you. Right. You see it every day. You know it. Mm-hmm. We have allowed ourselves to fail ourselves and each other in a number of ways. Okay. But in one way or the other, they all come back to financial viability. Okay. We've allowed the education system to be dismantled, public education system, which at this point, almost any metropolitan area primarily serves us. Because in so many metropolitan areas, whites have been usurped from the system, going to another system. And we've allowed politicians to institute the issue of charter schools, okay? Charter schools, things like that. And what we don't understand is that we're allowing them to take money from the public system, which is educated probably 99% of us, okay, successfully, we've allowed them to only guys are doing us a favor, take money from that same public system and put it to another system. And we think because the school goes from H.M. Naylor Elementary to UPrep Academy, that something's better. And what we don't know, that same dollar that should have been in the public school system moves over to the other system. Other thing we've allowed to happen, man, is that we have followed this idea of school integration to a point that it has completely strapped our communities. Follow me here, Mr. Okay? I live in Memphis, but I've also seen this in my hometown now, which is Cleveland, Mississippi. Okay. Because voters in equal rights were passed, what, 60s, late 60s, early 70s. Then we still have these mandates in place where there has to be a certain demographic in schools. And if it's not, you got to do something.
As far as Title IX?
Right.
Okay.
But what always happens, Title IX, but what always happens, though, to achieve that measure, we always put our kids on a bus, wake them up at 5 o'clock in the morning so they can be out to catch a bus to go across town, because education does not start until we get in the classroom with them. What happens to our schools and our neighborhoods? Those same schools that were in our neighborhoods, they were the force. They were the vibration of that community. Okay? We shut them down. So teachers coming into that community doesn't happen anymore. Janitors and engineers and principals coming into that community stops happening because the school is closed. And the whole vitality of that community. And you can see it in every metropolitan area in America, because we sent our kids somewhere else because we were trying to achieve Title IX.
Yeah.
There's so many instances that we can talk about, man, that where our tendency has been to follow, to assume that if it's not done with them, that it's no good, or it's not, that the viability is less so. And we usurp our own power from our own communities. And we end up suffering financially. So now we have neighborhoods, now follow logic, they're depressed. So where a home might have been valued $100,000 at one point because it had schools and everything else, now an appraisal brings it $50,000. A young man like yourself trying to invest in a home, you don't want to move there. We don't want to move there. So future investment into that community goes away, and we take it somewhere else. You know, it starts on a micro level, but it has a huge macro impact.
Now, do they sometimes like intentionally lowball certain communities, so like that way at like a later date people can come in and label as like opportunity zones and price those people out?
Again, you know, we can get into the gentrification and the process of, and the answer to it is yes. In most older major cities, I think to some extent we sometimes give them a little bit too much credit for being as intentional and playing 8 steps ahead. A lot of stuff just happened just as a result of the way we end up allowing things to do business ourselves. Okay, that was our community, mister. We had a word, we had a vision, we had a say so, and we didn't use it because our protests were not sustainable. Our protest only becomes viable when we are alarmed to the point that we just can't stand still. And after we have exercised it for a while, we put the signs down, and we go back home and turn the TV on again.
That's the most unfortunate part about it. Yeah, you know,
because see, some of that, mister, it's also political. See, you know, it's not who you voted president; it's who you voted for your city council.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the local elections are more important than the national elections. I mean, you know, national elections just constantly give people black people are being told every 4 years, vote blue, otherwise the world's going to cave in, and we fall for it every single time. Now, I'm not saying that the Republicans give us like an olive branch every 4 years. They, you know, no one really does, but over at a 90% rate, we're voting blue, but we don't get any type of like real change on that end. So, you know, so what's the alternative?
The alternative is that we have to understand that we're not a monolith. We are not a monolithic group of people.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own ideas. We have our own thoughts and process, and we should have the ability to express those in our politics, in the way we approach it. But at the same time, I do think that we are not, and this is where I kind of disagree with some of the thought that we need to pack up and go over this way, is because as a people, I don't think we've made it enough that we have the luxury of saying, I can vote or think the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem. If you let me tell it, mister, I think that's how we slipped around and let our last president become president, because we decided that we didn't have to vote blue. We decided that we didn't have to vote for somebody who had been a part of mass incarceration of our people. We decided that we didn't have to be a part of it. And consequently, there was almost a 12% reduction in voter turnout in our community in the last election that elected that previous president,
mm-hmm.
than the last election that elected Barack Obama. No sustainability, man. So not only did we not vote blue, we didn't vote not to the numbers that was necessary to get what we want. And see, I'm gonna tell you what scares me is that the reason why I think, even though we're not monolithic, we probably need to be able to exercise ourselves as a monolithic group, is because my prediction is in about 10 years or so, especially if there's any type of meaningful immigration reform, we're not going to be the largest minority anymore, mister. And if there's a meaningful immigration reform, that means a lot of that other community, I'm speaking now Hispanics, they're going to come out of the woodworks because they're going to have the right to vote too. We're not going to be the first stop on the tour then to try to coerce us to vote blue or red. They're going to be the first stop. They're going to still stop. They're going to still make a tour stop in our neighborhoods.
Just a pit stop.
It's going to be a pit stop. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
This is, if you can't see the trend coming, then again, you're not paying attention. You're not looking.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back over to the money part.
Okay.
Now, as far as you being a risk assessor,
Mm-hmm.
now, did you come into that, like, in your early career, in your 20s, like, did you like want to be that later in life, or did it just kind of like come along down the road, so per se?
I was a chemistry major in school.
Chemistry. Oh, wow. Okay.
With the anticipation of going to med school. Okay. So I'm in a complete flip-flop of where I started off. Okay. No. At that time, that wasn't thought. I became interested in finance probably in my late 20s.
Okay. Now, what was the reason for that?
I'm really not sure. I've always wanted personal economic wealth, I guess personal resources, and I just became interested in it. When I was younger, I guess I always kind of hung out with older guys, and so I always around when they'd be rapping about what was going on, the same way we are now, and which is ironic because 30 years later, we're still sitting around rapping about conversations about our community,
Right.
And so I had a personal desire to understand how the financial system worked, and then also had a desire to want to make a difference in other people's lives also.
As far as learning about finances, was that like a natural thing for you?
It turned out to be.
Yeah.
It turned out to be. Not because I thought I was so good at numbers, but I've always been pretty good at numbers. Okay. That was probably why I was in chemistry and enjoyed math and calculus and chemistry and physics. But what I guess turned out to be in my estimation, my belief is a compassion for people.
Okay.
It's a compassion for people and wanting to see people do well, wanting to see people comfortable. I kind of got the idea of prosperity. Prosperity became a big deal for me because see, prosperity to me is not just about counting your dollars. Prosperity is about your quality of life. Mm-hmm. It's about how do your dollars interface with your life and who you are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think prosperity means that you get wrapped up in your money. You have to get wrapped up in you. It became important for me to help people become prosperous.
Okay, now when someone uses your services, are they like self-aware of that? Like there's like an issue going on, and that's why they have to use you in order to kind of like evaluate what's going on with them, so that they could kind of be more financially sound. I mean, what's the whole process as far as like why are they calling you? Like, is it like a dire need to like get you to like fix their issues?
Sometimes I'm going to use this metaphor, okay, and I've done it before. It's like the mechanic, man. Sometimes you take your car in for the tune-up. Nothing wrong with it, man. You want to make sure kids running good. Sometimes you want to enhance it. Okay. Then sometimes the engine is about to go out. I have clients, sometimes the engine is about to go out. I have some clients that they're fine. Hell, I'm more admiring of what they're doing. I'm more admiring of what they're doing than what I'm doing myself. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes people want somebody else to bounce things off. I realized not long ago, I was reminded again why it's important to work with the professional when you do certain things, because that's what that person do every day. And sometimes you involved in stuff is like when you have you ever heard the old term when you can't see the forest for the trees? Sometimes when you're in it, man, there's so many trees. Everywhere you look, there's a tree, and you can't see no way out because all you see is a forest. And sometimes sharing that confusion with someone else, they offer you a way out.
Yeah.
One of the most significant compliments I've ever received was when I was leaving a household after working with a couple who was, like you said, they were in dire need. Both degree people, one with advanced degree, both working professional jobs, living the American dream, the nice home, the nice cars, the kids, but in debt. Okay. And when we worked together, we were able to do what I like to refer to as financial re-engineering. Pull some things here, restructure some things, and that put over grand back into their budget each month. This couple was here and getting further apart. See, I guarantee you, if we do a survey of 100 divorced couples and you ask them what was at the core of the demise of their relationship, I bet you finances will be in the top 3 every time.
Every time I saw a study like that, it was always about money.
Money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Money drives the way. You think about it. Money drives wedge between family members.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I loaned you that $100 a month ago. You ain't got it back to me yet. It's a way because it's tough to talk about too. Okay. And in relationships, it can become a huge thing because it is difficult to talk about. And I'm gonna tell you what I think I do, and I've helped do, is when you sit down and you put this on paper in black and white, and then I go put it in the computer and I bring you a report back that shows your income and expense month to month. This is what's coming in. This is what's going out. And these are your numbers. This is what you told me you're doing. I'm going to tell you what happens. It becomes a revelation to both spouses. Sometimes even bigger revelation to the spouse, who's most time is a woman. She got the kids. She wants the kids to dress nice. So she's going shopping at Goldsmiths or Macy's when he doesn't know it.
Right.
She got the other credit card that he doesn't know about because she wants the kids to look nice. She wants herself to look nice. So that's the one she used to get the extra bag or whatever. Okay. He doesn't know it. And I'm not trying to put the onus of financial responsibility on the woman only. So let me
you told her yourself
now, okay? But the point is when they get to that point where it's tough and everybody puts it on the table and you come back and you see, and it's not that the incomes are not good, right? It's not that the incomes are not good. It's just that the expenses are greater.
Now, what's a common luxury that we tend to kind of like not be so hard to get rid of, which is causing us to constantly get into all this debt. I mean, you had mentioned as far as like, going out and buying nice clothes. I mean, I can imagine eating out all the time. Like, Starbucks 5 times a week. I'm sure that's a big thing. I mean, everything adds up.
It does. Look, in my monthly cash flow analysis, we also include what we call entertainment. Okay. Entertainment can be going to the casino. And I'm telling you, most people do that. It's a funny kind of math, man. It never adds up, okay? It can be eating out 3 or 4 times a week. It can be going to the movies, all those things. Then there's personal care items. These are things we don't even consider when we're trying to think about what we're spending each month. Average woman these days, man, by the time she gets her hair done, extensions or whatever she's doing, that's a $200-$300 job, man. And she's getting it done every 6 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Again, these items, they kind of add up. But let me tell you the biggest mistake I see happens to us. We move our lifestyles to where our incomes are. Okay. Let's say you're making 50 grand a year. You get another job. Now you're making 60. 10 grand more. Okay. Guess what? Now it's time for a new house.
That money's burning. You got to spend it.
You got to spend it. You got to spend it. See, I'm going to tell you, man, one of the times in my own personal life that I realized that we we missed an opportunity when it was on the table. Remember I told you, when our son was born, we wanted him to be old enough to be able to talk when we went to school. It wasn't just about trying to nurture him. It was that too, but it was a time, and they still do. You hear about kids getting left on daycare buses, getting left in the daycare center. We really didn't want that, and we wanted him to be able to verbalize what was going on, and that was it. We went 4 years with just one income. At that time, I wish I had been smart enough to have the forethought when my wife went back to work to never put her income back on the table. Never put her income back on the table. Just put it somewhere and play like we lived off the same income. We don't do that, because when it comes in, we got to do something about it. That means that's the other house, that's the other car, that's the other vacation. You know what I'm saying? That's the other little clothing that we chose to do versus when we would not have done it, when we put ourselves in a conscious mode to be mindful of what we spend, being intentional.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So what I didn't finish telling you about that couple or so you.
Yeah.
When I was leaving, she said, God sent you. God sent you.
Powerful.
That was and has been one of the most moving compliments. And I've had another couple share something very similar. In a way, when you have the ability to help someone go from here to here in their relationship with their finances. And notice I said their relationship with their finances, because that's what it is. Now, it's not about honoring money, but it's honoring the fruits of your labor. Okay? There's a relationship that goes there, that if you help people develop that relationship. Now, I've been doing this long enough now that I have couples that I met when they were very young as a couple. Now they're professors at Grambling University, and they're talking, and we're talking about what we did 15 years ago. And they're talking, and again, being intentional about the things that they're doing with the finances. And that includes not just what I invest, but it also includes what I do to protect my family with.
Okay. Now, should parents like invest into a 529 plan?
529 is one way to provide educational savings for your children. It's not the only way. Okay.
No. Okay.
For most people, again, and see, sometimes I think we kind of put the cart before the horse. I have a wide spectrum of clients. I have some clients who are doing really, really well, and some that it's a struggle. It's a struggle. There's just some things they just can't do. So we, as a community, we start talking about investing. I want me a stock, man. We hear about the market doing really, really good on some. Some of us trying to invest, and we can't put our hands on 1 month of income and we can't go to work. The reality of it is that investing for you is not a reality right now. It should not be. What should be the reality is that let's see if we can find a money market account or a savings account where we can become intentional about saving at least a month or 2 months of your income in the event you aren't able to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Part of the reason why COVID-19 wiped so many of us out over the past year, man, we weren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
We weren't prepared not to go to work, man. If not for the stimulus package and as generous as being as generous as they were a year ago, a lot of us would probably be in worse economic condition than we are right now.
Now, historically, like Black people were always told to like save, 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 but it was never like an emphasis on like actually investing your money. Obviously, investing is no guarantee, but it's more of a long term strategy to invest versus just trying to get a quick like a quick return of investment right out the gate. So, like, how much money should people have or start to save into their savings account? How much money should they save as far as like putting it into like an investment account?
Ideally, but it doesn't happen often. I say ideally, you really want to set aside 20% of your income towards your savings. Okay. And I should say savings and investing.
Okay, so both. Okay, 20% of both those buckets, right?
Yeah, no. 20%. And how you allocate that between savings and investment depends on where you are in the spectrum, age-wise, income-wise, savings-wise, and what your short-term objectives and long-term objectives are. Each person's allocation can be completely different, okay? But in terms of percentage of income, the ideal amount is 20%, minimum 10% though.
Okay. And what is like a common, like easy avenue to start like investing as far as like, mutual funds, like with the power companies like, Charles Schwab or I'm not sure about the other ones. So I don't even know about Schwab, but what's some common ones in which people can start investing right now?
We're because of technology now, we're in an age where if a person 10 years ago, Mr. to invest in a Schwab account or Edwards or any of the investment companies, you'd have to have a minimum of $2,500 just to open an account. Okay.
You said 2,500?
Used to. Okay. That's not the case now. As technology platforms such as Acorn, Robinhood, and places like that you can, that you can put $20 a week in or $10 a week in. It has forced other major investment companies now to also allow investment opportunities without those minimum restrictions in terms of how much it takes to get in. Okay.
Okay.
I want to say again, though, the first place a person needs to start is to decide how much of their income they're going to set aside every pay period. Okay.
Yeah.
I submit to you, and I would challenge all of your viewers to try to do 10%, then 20%. Okay. Once they successfully do that, then they sit down and determine now where do I want those dollars to go. Okay. Now, this is where working with the professional can help. Because working with the professional, it's like having a counselor, somebody to bounce things off. Okay. Then what do I need my money for? Do I need it for my kids' education? Yeah. Well, how old are your kids? When will you need it? 5 years from now? 10 years from now? Do you have an emergency fund? What should it be? 3 months of my income, 6 months of my income? Every household is different. But sometimes when you work with somebody, they can help you understand what the guidelines or the parameters are, and then help you set a goal in terms of how do we get there. But if you're going to be a lay person and do it yourself, then you want to start to say, first, try saving 10% of your income. The best time to start is to get people to do it before they ever commit those incomes to other things in their lifestyle. Because once it gets in your lifestyle, it's hard to take it back off the table. Because then to take it off the table means you got to sacrifice something. And sacrifice is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's, for the most part, it's what you're dealing with. When you're trying to talk and get people to understand the need to save, we're going to talk that first, because investment is savings, okay? It's just where we allocate it. Investment, we invest because we're trying to get a greater return on our money than just sitting in a savings account or a money market account or a CD. Okay. We're trying to get, but those dollars should not be dollars that I need to go get if I got to run to Chicago because my aunt is sick. See, putting those dollars in an investment is insane, because every time you got to pull on those dollars, you're creating what is called an opportunity cost. Those opportunity costs can be taxes, can be penalty, can be market fluctuation. Okay. It can be at a point when my $10,000 was put in when my shares was $50 a share, and now they're down to 30. You know what I'm saying? And I got to put my money because I don't have any other choice, because I don't have real savings anywhere else. Because I went from saving to investing without dealing with the priorities of the what ifs, the risk.
Okay. Wow.
The risk, when you don't consider the risk that can occur.
Now, when someone retires, let's just say 65, what's the ideal amount someone should have in their retirement account in order to live comfortably? I know every place is different, or location is different. Let's just say somewhere, let's just say in, I don't know, Atlanta or Memphis or Dallas. What's the most ideal balance that one should have in their retirement account?
Let me give you a percent rather than a hard number, because the hard number is going to differ from household to household, from geographic location. Yeah. What you're hoping to do, mister, you're trying to replace, if you're planning now, okay, if you work with a financial advisor and they do what is called a long-term capital needs analysis for you, okay? What a capital needs analysis is how much capital do I need down the road if I live, how much capital I need down the road if I die, okay? And how much capital do my family need if I become disabled? That's asset planning and risk, with the risk that can occur. Okay, let me do it again. Capital needs analysis. How much capital do I need if God bless me to live, no interruption, to the point I want to retire? How much capital does my family need if I die in the process of doing so? Because some kind of way, somebody needs to complete that savings. If not, my family's lifestyle completely changes. Okay. And how much capital do I need if I become disabled and live and can't do it? That's the risk management that we have to account for. The guideline typically is you want to replace 70% of your working income during your working years or your retirement years. And you want to replace it until at least age 90. Okay. So if you plan on retiring completely, and see, retirement for some people is different. Retiring from the job you're on now, but then go to work another job, that's not retiring.
Yeah.
That's retiring from a job and going to another job, which is what a lot of us do. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not retiring. Retiring is when you get to the point that you stop work and you have enough resources to maintain the quality of your life from then on. Now, I'm going to tell you what I've seen happen, mister. People have enough money to retire, but don't have enough money to remain in retirement.
Okay. Explain.
Some people have enough money. They have $300,000-$400,000 in their 401k plan.
You said 3 or 4?
3 or 4. I'm just taking $300,000 or $400,000.
Okay, gotcha.
In their 401k plan. Okay, when they get 65 and they retire, I'm ready to go, man. I got a lot of money in my savings, and they start using that money, live on. Okay, and they're using that money at a fairly rapid rate. And 5-6 years later, that 400,000 is now 100,000. Now that retirement is not looking so exciting anymore. So you find people retire for 5-6 years and go back to work. They were not prepared to remain in retirement. Retirement is when you get to the point, mister, where you have enough resources to provide for the quality of your life for the rest of your life.
So let's say someone has $500,000 to their 401k, right? And every single dollar put into that account was pre-tax. So it's not really worth $500,000, correct? It's probably worth, let's just say, $350,000, right?
Well, when you start to use it, that's when you find out that it's not. Because remember those opportunity costs we talked about?
Yeah.
Taxes, penalties, inflation, those kind of things.
Mhm.
Those things erode that. Actually, the idea of pre-tax investments are like 401k plans. They really are not as attractive tax strategies as they used to be.
Mm.
See, those were really attractive tax strategies when the tax rate topped out at 50%. You know what I'm saying? So theoretically, I'm working and I'm saving that 50% on my savings because it's not being taxed. And then when I retire, I start to take it out. I'm taking it out at a 20% tax rate. So I've saved something. Well, we've had tax rates now for the average taxpayer who's under $300,000. The average median tax rate is probably in the 20s. Working and retirement, it's no different. But you have subjected probably 80% of your savings, 100% to taxes when you start to take it out.
Mm.
So that tax strategy really is not as effective now as it was 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So a person who's committed to long-term savings, they need to look at alternative. It could be a Roth IRA. It could be a whole life insurance plan, man.
Yeah.
That may give as good a returns, provide protection for the family, and give me tax-free money down the road.
So do you recommend term or whole life insurance policies better?
Depends on the person's situation, man.
Yeah.
See, the person who tells you only by term, tells you only by term because that's the only thing he can do. Okay. It depends. It really depends on a person's situation. I'm a believer, okay? See, term is designed for young couples who have sizable financial needs, okay? I worked with a couple not long ago, husband and wife, both are in master's programs right now. They're going to both, when they get the master's, God bless them, they're going to work jobs that are paying substantially more than they are now. They each had whole life policies with a company that specializes in auto insurance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Each one of them had a $200,000 policy. They were paying right at $300 a month for those two policies, for each of their policies together. They've had their first child, now working on the second child, okay? If something happens to either one of those spouses, that $200,000 policy, whole life policy, was going to only replace about 4 years of the income. Now, I submit to you, mister, if I can take $100 and go get you $1 million worth of insurance versus $200, and you die tomorrow, would you rather your family have $1 million or $200?
Million.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
that was poor planning. Actually, wasn't planning. See, that's where planning comes in. You're looking at your situation, and two people's situation are going to be alike. Somebody's going to be need, and some of it will be desire. Okay. I have a client, he's an attorney. It was important for him when his kids were young that if something happened to him, that each member would be a millionaire. He had 2 sons. So he bought $3 million policies, one for the wife, one for the kid, one for each of his sons. And now his sons, one of them is practicing law with him now. But it was important. And then he bought whole life policies on them, on the kids at the time, because he wanted them by the time they reached 65, they'd also have $1 million.
Okay.
So that was his want. But there's a need, and we need to look out for those needs. And again, term was the most economical way for them to do it. Now, long term, I prefer whole life. But I'm not going to sell a family with growing kids a $50,000 whole life policy because that's all his budget would afford when he has 2 kids who have a need to be taken care of if something happens to him.
Right.
Or her. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to take that $50, $100 a month. We're going to go get him as much insurance as we can. And we're going to help him become financially stable enough so that when he converts that whole life insurance, he'll be financially able to do so.
So sort of basic rule of thumb as far as how much you would need. So like, take me for example, right? My kids are 5 and 2. So should I have like a policy that would take care of them up until they both are 18 years old? As far as based on what I'm making right now, as far as income?
What tends to happen? Let me ask you this. Did you go to college?
Yes.
Okay. A 4-year school or what?
4-year.
So you got a 4-year degree?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like your kids to have a 4-year degree?
Yes. Yes.
Will your kids have a 4-year degree at age 18?
Do I want them to have a 4-year degree at 18?
Will the average child have a 4-year college degree at age 18?
No.
No. Okay. So answer your question. If you fund their lifestyle so that they're 18, you have not sent them to college, mister.
Oh, okay.
You've not sent them to college. This is what I recommend, okay? If you have young kids, if your desire for them is to have an opportunity to do better in life, then if I'm living, one of the things I want to do is to provide for my kids to go to college so that they have that opportunity themselves. But what if, God forbid, I'm not here to do it? Then it is my responsibility to provide those dollars to my family if I'm gone. The easiest way to do that is life insurance. So in terms of my planning, and you can do this, if you take out a pen and paper, mister, this is what you do. See, people, here's the biggest need for life insurance, and you can do this exercise for yourself, and then you ask yourself whether or not you have adequate life insurance, because we're going to do what's called a very summarized
Already.
Capital needs analysis, okay? Write down right now the age of your youngest child.
Okay.
Okay. And take about what age you think the average child finishes college.
Now, 22, 23.
You're right. So put 23.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Now, subtract the number of years between how old your child is and the time it'll take to get them through college. So your oldest child is what, 2? I mean, your youngest is 2?
My youngest
that
is
means
2.
that, what, 20? That's 21 years?
21, yep.
Now take your income, your annual income today, and multiply it by 21 and see what you come up with.
Ooh. That's just for one child.
That's really what you're doing. You're taking care of both kids.
Okay.
Because what you're doing, that's called income replacement.
I came out to 3.5 million.
Right. Right. That's your need, Brother Lincoln.
Okay.
That's your family's need. That is if you are intentional about providing the same lifestyle for them. Because see, when something happens to you, your income is going to stop unless there are some other assets in place that will replace that income. There's some others, Social Security, we're not counting. So that's a very generalized income replacement. Now, I'm going to submit something else to you. We did not account for how much it would take to pay for their college education. All you did was give Mrs. Lincoln your income until your kids finish college. So she don't have to take on another job. She doesn't have to move out of the house you're in. She doesn't have to move the kids out of the neighborhood they're in because she still has your income. So in essence, you're kind of saying if she can take your income and manage it as if you were here, then she'll be able to provide for their college education. But if you really wanted to be intentional, you would then account for what it would cost to send them to college. It would be in college education fund that's built into your life insurance. What would you say? Do you want your kids to go to a public institution or private?
Yeah, it all depends on what they are interested in. So, I mean, they could go to a liberal arts college or they could go to an engineering school. So,
they could. But I'm going to tell you why it's important for you to make that decision now. Because how much money you're going to need to either save while you work or replace on your life insurance if you die depends on what school you're going to send them to. So the average private school may run $40,000 a year. Average public institution, 10 to 15.
That's just tuition. So
that's just tuition. That is not the cost of attending.
All right.
It's just tuition. The point I'm trying to make is that even with 3.5 million, all you did was replace income. Notice you didn't pay off a mortgage. You didn't provide for education. You just replaced lost income. That's what your capital needs is. That's your number. That's the kind of exercise I do with clients. Otherwise, you're just putting a number out of the sky and hoping it's a good enough number. Okay. Here's the deal. The least thing you should do is not leave a family in worse shape than when you were here. Okay. That's the least that you can do. when you care about somebody else other than yourself. You find a way to cut those dollars out of your budget, out of your lifestyle, out of the shoe buying, out of the car buying, out of the other things that we do, out of the going out to eat 4 or 5 nights a week, out of the movies, out of those kind of things to provide for our children. I had a client, she was a younger lady, told me one time, we were talking about education funding, okay? Well, how much do you want to send your kid to a private school or public school? College. She said, and her thought was, if I'm going to send my kid to a private school now, send him to a private school now so I won't have to pay for college. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to spend 10 grand a year to send a kid to private school, he darn near better get the preparation so that he gets scholarships to pay for college. Otherwise, it's a waste of money.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Yeah.
Really. But I had not heard it placed like that. She was younger than I was, but I was blown away by the logic.
Actually, that's our mindset because our oldest go to a private school.
Right. But so you paying for a private, you paying more now because you hoping she gets the preparation that prepares her that when she goes to college, you don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to pay for college twice.
Right. That's true.
And there's some private schools here that'll cost you as much as going to a good state-supported school.
Mm-hmm.
Easily, So, but that's the mindset that you're taking there. But I'm gonna tell you something else too, and I'm not trying to indict you. Okay, if you're paying for private school and you don't have that amount of life insurance, you are misguided in your planning.
Okay,
because you're hoping God bless you to be here. Because I'm gonna tell you, over this past year, since we've had a COVID-19 pandemic, for the first time in over 50 years, the average life expectancy of an American citizen decreased.
Oh, what's the latest number now?
It was 76.4. That's general, but see, your black man is lower than that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for us, it's even less than that. The point is that you have certain things that have been killing us all the time anyway: heart disease and cancer and strokes and other vascular disease and accidents. Those things continue to kill us. They didn't take a vacation and say, COVID, go do your thing. So you take those things, over 2.2 billion people die every year anyway. Then you got something else that over the past 18 months have killed over 700,000 people here. That's actually killed more people. This is the first time in our lifetimes that our risk of getting sick and dying is higher than it's been during our entire lifetimes, because of the increased risk that COVID now places in our lives here. Okay. Yeah. Man, if you ask me, say, Frederick, what's your pet peeve as an advisor that work with clients and investments and insurance and stuff like that? We don't purchase enough life insurance.
Interesting.
Investments is sexy. I want to talk about my stocks. I want to talk about my mutual funds. I want to talk about how it went up 50%. We don't want to talk about when it goes down 50% though, but we want to talk about when it goes up 50%. We want to brag with the boys, smoke a cigar, and go. But when it comes to saying, what if God don't bless me to get to you? If God don't bless me to get to the other side with my kids, what happens?
Yeah.
What happens? And I'm submitting to you that you're putting the horse before the cart. And I'm gonna tell you, that's a microeconomic thing that has a huge macroeconomic impact.
Interesting. Yeah, you actually got me something to think about. So yeah, I definitely got to reassess some things that I'm doing. So I got to make sure.
And do the same thing with Mrs. Lincoln. Is she working or is she a stay-at-home mom?
She's working. She works from home.
Okay. Now, the question I ask you, if you, like most couples, what you spend each month, even including your savings, you base it on both incomes. If something happens to either one of you guys, it's interrupted. It's interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't take into account the possibility of it happening, you are probably being a little, what's the word, callous in your approach to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not indicting you. This is all of us. But the point I'm trying to make is my belief that the microeconomic things we're doing in our community has a macroeconomic impact. It affects us as a whole. because we're not getting to the other side financially because of our relationship with our money and our finances. And so we've not made the economic growth that I think we should have made over the last 20 years.
Oh.
And it's my belief that if we allow it to continue, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Well, that's a good note to kind of let the viewers kind of think about. And yeah, I mean, you kind of left me lost for words, man. So I mean, I'm doing fine. I think I'm doing fine financially. I hope I'm doing fine. But as far as after this conversation, I'm like, man, maybe I gotta adjust some things. So, but yeah, thank you for the whole financial lesson, man. Yeah, but yeah, I only want to keep you on for an hour, and we could probably do a part two at some time in the near future. So yeah, I know your time is valuable. So, but yeah, man. So like, how can people find out more of what you do, or if they could kind of reach out to you for your services?
Okay. They can either reach out to us by phone. My office number is area code 901-624-5900. My administrative assistant, her name is Sarah, really sweet young lady in graduate school here. Her extension is 1477. She books almost all of my appointments, though. Or they can meet us on my website, which I don't use. But let me see if I could get it. It is Frederick Brown, www.frederickbrown@healthmarkets.com. But they can reach us by phone. Let me just leave a couple of things with you, Mr. And this is important. When I used to do economic empowerment workshops, and we talk about the disparity between assets and incomes between whites and blacks. And it's fairly obvious, we all can Google the numbers these days. You don't have to go to a library and spend hours there. We can pull up, how blacks spend money in retail sales. We can pull up our ownership of businesses. We can do those things. You know what I'm saying? There are a couple of things. Martin Luther King back in 1968, man, said, if we combine our wealth as a community, we would be the third richest nation in the world. That was God. That's 50 years ago, man. And we still haven't quite grasped that power yet. But anyway, I was asked, then how do we make up that gap? And this is what I'm going to tell you. There are a number of ways, but the two main ways, education and life insurance.
Okay. Interesting.
Education and life insurance. Those are two things that are going to help us make up the gap if we begin to take those things serious.
Awesome.
We can talk about these in further detail. I've enjoyed having the time to have these conversations with you. If you'd like to continue, we'll have them again. I'm more than open. It's a passion of mine. I decided some time ago that what I do is more of a ministry than it is just a profession, because it's about us helping one another to get to the next place. I was told some time ago, and I truly believe it, that to live a fulfilled life, we have to do three things every day. First thing we have to do is we have to be a student. It means that every day we have a responsibility to learn something. Okay. Secondly, we have to be an administrator. And as an administrator, we have to incorporate those lessons into our lives to improve them. Our ultimate responsibility, though, is to be a teacher. That is to teach someone else the benefit of the lessons that we've learned that will make a difference in their lives. I'm at that place. I want to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Being that I'm plus 40 now, I'm trying to get into that realm of spreading wisdom. So I have so much life experiences. So
Yes, sir.
So I'm definitely trying to pass down some things to my kids. So or even the younger generation of nieces and nephews and cousins. So yeah, I'm in a realm where I'm trying to do that.
They all fall under your domain of responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
They all fall under your domain of responsibility. And that education, mister, it's not just academic education. It's not. education about money, education about your relationship with it, education about life. Those educations are as powerful as the academic educations we learn. Some of the smartest people I know don't have multiple degrees. And I'm gonna say this again. This is like saying bye. You keep saying bye.
No, you good.
And you can do this also. I used to keep copies of Money Magazine and Forbes. They always measure the 100 richest Americans.
Yeah.
I'm telling you for a long time, and it hasn't changed. Even in the age of the digital economy, the richest people don't have degrees. Now, I'm not preaching against it. I'm not advocating against it. So let me, again, full disclaimer, I'm not. But what I'm trying to suggest is that it's not the only panacea to your success, to our success. Okay. Right. There was a time when I'm going to ask you, okay, the 4 richest American was Bill Gates,
Steve Jobs,
Warren Buffett. Steve Jobs at the time was not in the top 4.
Oh, he wasn't.
Now when he was living, Steve Jobs would never reach the top 10. Warren Buffett, Michael Dale.
Oh, okay.
And Paul Allen. Okay. This was in the 90s, probably late 90s. And you can Google the richest Americans now and you'll see something similar. Okay. And I'll ask you, 3 of them have something in common, other than being white males. What was it? What is it they had in common?
So no college?
Had college, but not college degrees. Bill Gates did not graduate from Harvard. Bill Gates didn't graduate. Michael Dale didn't graduate. And neither did Paul Allen. The only one did was Warren Buffett. That's 75% of 4 richest Americans didn't have a college degree.
Who is the richest Black person in America right now?
Let's Google it and see, man.
I have a name, but I'm not sure if this is true or not. He claims
Johnson.
Huh?
Johnson.
I'm sorry, said I can't hear you.
I see. Richest Black. Oh, let me go. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. Richest.
Whatever comes up, I'm just wondering if it's going to be different from like the name that I have right now.
I put person instead of, because some people think it's Oprah.
No, it's not Oprah.
Richest Black person in America. Let me see what comes out. Somebody named Aliko Dangote at $13.5 billion.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
was that what you had in mind?
No. What I had in mind was Kanye West.
Let me tell you what Kanye West is on here, man. He's on the top 10 here.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah, let me go through it. Aliko Dangote, Mike Anukwa, Robert Smith. That's who I had in mind, Robert Smith. He was the one, I think, man, who gave the big donation to Morehouse College to eliminate the debt of some of its alumnus.
I think it was the 2019 graduating class.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Kanye West is on here with 3.1 billion.
Okay.
And then behind him is Oprah.
He claims he's the richest Black person in America, but he said that on an interview recently. So,
you got to consider the source, okay?
Right.
But when you start talking billions, and a lot of this stuff is inflated too. A lot of stuff is inflated. I mean, in terms of people guesstimating what the value of a home is, what the value of your business is, what the value, and for most of those things, it's if you have a business, it's that's what's tied up. Most of Bill Gates' wealth is tied up in his ownership of stock in Microsoft. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that, and that rise and fall by the day. But if you Google the 100 richest Americans today in the digital age, I bet you 2 out of the top 5 don't have college degrees. Again, I'm not advocating not to. What I'm trying to say is that education comes in more forms than academic. And if we think academic only is going to be the panacea or the liberator of where we are financially, I'm going to submit to you that that's a little misguided. I think what we got to do is we got to take the creativity our kids have and our community have, and we got to capitalize on it. But education and life insurance. Because see, right now, Mr. goes tomorrow, Brother Lincoln, and his family are millionaires. because he goes out to replace his income until his youngest daughter finishes college. But if you educate those girls, man, okay, to what to do with it, think of how dangerous they will be with knowledge and resources. See, that's what's happened to us. A lot of us have the knowledge and no resource.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm talking about is connecting knowledge and resource. That's our next frontier, bro.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that on part 2, and also we could probably get into you don't have to answer this now, but my question to you would be, should blacks get reparations?
Wow.
But we get into that later.
Wow. That's that. Is that look, is that really a safe conversation to have? I definitely have some feelings.
Everyone has
I definitely have some feelings about it.
There's so much content out there like about it right now, and plus they're like talking about it in the mainstream media, and they supposed to be having some study as far as trying to pass a bill with HR 40 about it. So, but you know, the whole reparations thing is in the diaspora. I'm sorry, in the whole discourse right now. So, but
you know something, it has been in the discourse in the diaspora for some time now.
Yeah,
this is not new. Right. This is not a new movement. This is not some newly created idea. Mm-hmm. Reparations. That has had a foothold for some time. What I'm going to suggest, man, until that comes, why don't we create our own damn reparations through our own initiatives, through our own ability to provide for our families. All we got to do is want to. Now, this is what I'm going to challenge you to, okay? Send me, okay, are you a fairly healthy person?
Yes.
Okay. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to send you an estimate of what it takes for you to provide $3.5 million to your family. It's going to blow you away.
Okay.
You said what, 49?
Oh, say it again.
Did you say your age was 49?
Oh, my age?
Yeah. How old are you?
Oh, I'm just 40.
40, okay. And it's going to blow you away. And how old is Mrs. Lincoln?
She'll kill me for saying her age on the internet. She is 37.
Okay. Well, she can claim hers right now. Let me tell you what you tell her. I heard him use it at a party one time. A guy messed around, and one of his intro lines after asking her name was, "How old you are?" And the response really just blew everybody away. She was old enough to do what she wants and young enough to do it well. That's what the thing is. Okay, so the age is just a number. Right. What I'm going to do, I only ask because I'm going to send you an estimate of what it takes for you to provide your income to your family until your youngest child leaves school, regardless of whether you're here or not. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's going to blow you away, because I want you to blow your listeners away also. I want your listeners to know how realistic it is. It's not the price. It's the knowledge and the desire.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
We've kept each other long enough. Peace, my brother.
I appreciate it, Fred. So it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed being with you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you took the time out to talk to me, man. Hey, I learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to part 2, man. So yeah, thank you for being a guest on the Cornerstone Podcast.
Just let me know, man. Good luck, man, to your podcast. I think what you're doing, man, is a fantastic thing. I think our community needs more information like what you guys are disseminating.
I appreciate it.
I'm really grateful to have an opportunity to be a part of it.
All right, thanks a lot, Fred. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care. Maybe blessed.
Got some business for me. Appreciate it.
I'll do that, man. Okay, man. Take care.
All right, later.